Okay, today's lesson is focused on three types of problems. And specifically on three types of problems that have three different answers. So one answer could be a variable. I'm just going to use x, like x equals 0. Okay, versus an answer that we say has no solution. Okay. And finally, a third type of answer that we could have is when we would say it has all real numbers. Okay. Anytime we're solving an equation, we can basically have three types of answers. We can have where x equals a number, which we've been solving a ton of those problems. One of those numbers could be 0. 0 is a number. So again, one type of answer, we could have x equals a number. Now, two other answers that we could have are no solution or all real numbers. And this lesson is really going to help us focus on, well, what does the equation look like if the answer equals x equals 0 or variable equals 0, if it's no solution or if it's all real numbers. Okay. So first of all, let's do this first one together. I want you to write this one down and then go ahead and hit pause and do the first step. So do the distributive property and just the first step. So go ahead and get this down. Then when you finish, hit pause and do it. Okay, the very first thing that you should have done, hopefully you saw this, put the hidden 1 in front of the variable. Anytime you have a variable without a number, always write the hidden 1 in there. Okay, next to distribute. Okay, this is a multi-step, I should step back. This is a multi-step equation, and I know that because I have one variable, just x, and I have that variable on both sides. Okay, and recall our steps are for solving multi-step equations are, first thing you have to do is simplify both sides. And in order to simplify both sides, we oftentimes have to use a distributive property, and we oftentimes have to combine like terms. In this one, it's very obvious I need to use the distributive property to simplify this left side. So when I do that, 8 times 1x will give me 8x, 8 times negative, and it's so important that you put this bar here, that way you see that that's a negative. 8 times negative 4 would be negative 32, so I can write minus 32, and then that equals 8x. I didn't do anything with that. Oop, 8x. Okay. Now, if I look at this left side, it's simplified all the way. If I look at the right side, 8x simplified all the way. So once both sides are simplified, then you move all of your variable terms to the same side. Now, when I look at this one, a lot of times you guys like to move all your variable terms to the left-hand side. Okay, so I could move this 8x to the other side of the equal to sign. But if I do that, then I'm just going to have to move this 32 over to this side. Okay, there is a smarter way of doing this. Okay, and that is this. Let me erase this really quickly. Instead of moving the 8x to the left, this 8x to the left side, I'm going to move this 8x to this side. Okay, and to move a positive, keep in mind we don't care about this negative sign after, we care about the sign in front. To move, and nothing's there, so we know it's a positive. Right? If nothing's there, we know it's a positive. To move a positive 8x to the other side, I'm going to subtract 8x. Now I put this x with it because I want that x to go to the other side. Okay? Whatever you do to one side, do to the other. Okay? So I end up, that cancels. I end up with negative 32 is equal to, okay, 8x minus 8x basically cancels out and gets you 0. Now if you look at this, we say that negative 32 is equal to 0. Okay, right away you should be thinking, well, no, it's not. And you're right, it's not. Okay, the answer to this one, if this is not true, and I want you guys to write this, not true. Okay, when we get an answer where it's like one number doesn't equal the other number, the answer to that we say is no solution. This is what you would write down for the actual answer. Instead of writing x equals something, you write down no solution. Okay. here's what this means, and I want to focus on once we distributed, we had this right here. We had 8x minus 32 is equal to 8x. Here's what we mean by no solution. Okay? That no matter what number we plug in for x, no matter what number, okay, the equation will never, ever, ever balance out, no matter what we plug in. That's why we say there's no solution that will balance this out. Okay? Let me give you an example. If we do like 10, if we say x is 10, well, if I plug in 10 for x, okay, 8 times 10 would be 80. Okay, 8 times 10 would be 80. Now look at this. Right away we see, oh, we get 80 for both of them, right? But on this left side, I'm always going to subtract 32. On this right side, I just have the 80. So on both sides I have 80, but on this side I have to subtract 32. Okay? Not going to get you the same answer because you're subtracting the 32, right? This is how we see that it's no solution. Again, you could pick the number 100, plug it in for x. Guarantee you, won't balance out. You could pick the number negative 0.5, plug it in, won't balance out. Okay? So this we say has no solution. Again, here's what it's going to look like. If we have a number, okay, that doesn't equal another number, it's no solution. Okay, I'm going to move on if you're not quite done or you have a question. So again, good note taking on videos, right? If you had a question about a step on here, say you had a question about like why we moved this 8x to this side, you would put a question and then write it out. Why ... whatever your question is. That way when you get to class, you know exactly where to ask your question at and we can help you out quicker. Okay? Okay, let's look at this example. First thing I always like to do is actually just look at the problem and say, okay, what type of problem am I dealing with here? And if I look at this, I have a bunch of b terms, but only one variable. Those variables are on different sides of the equal. They're on both sides of the equal to sign, right? So the very first thing that should be coming to my mind is it's a multi-step equation. First step with multi-step equations is always to simplify both sides of the equal to sign. Oftentimes that means, again, distribute or combining like terms, and sometimes both. Okay, in this case, I need to combine my like terms. Now, here's a common mistake. Can I just go circling all of these and just combine them all? The answer is no. You cannot combine terms that are on different sides of the equal to sign. They're not on the same side. You can only combine like terms if they're on the same side of the equal to sign. So I'm just going to get rid of this right now because I cannot combine those. Okay. What I can do though, actually I'll just do two steps. So I'm going to work one side at a time. So when I combine these two, I'm going to get negative 2b. And again, I just want to combine one side at a time. So I'm going to rewrite this minus 5b. Okay, once we get better at these, we could have just combined this right side now. So let me change colors. So we could have done, okay, I can do this differently. Maybe mark these differently over here. Okay, because again, you can't just combine them with the left side. So I'd end up with negative 2b is equal to negative 3b. Okay. All right, now, when I look at this, it kind of looks like they're similar, but they're a little bit different. Now, you still have to, get a different color here, okay, have we solved for the variable yet? We can't just stop and look and say, oh, we're done. Have we solved for b? No, I still have to follow my steps. I need to get all of my b terms to the same side. So I'm going to move this negative 3b to the other side. Well, how do I move a negative 3b? And again, I want that b to go with it. To the other side, I have to add 3b. Add 3b. Okay? So when I do that, this side cancels. Okay? What's left if it cancels? Well, 0 is what's left. Equal to sign. And then I get a 1b. Okay? Now, when I look at this, I see right here, do I have to put this 1 in front of the b? No. I get b equals 0. So my answer to this one is not, okay, a lot of times students make this mistake. They'll say, oh, b equals 0, that means no solution. Absolutely not. B equals 0 means that if you plug in 0 for all of these b's, guess what's going to happen? Your equation is going to balance out. Okay, if you were to plug in 0 for b and simplify each side, okay, it would balance out. Now, this one was a little bit easier because we got a 1b. But you could have gotten something, say you see something like this. Say you solve it and you get 5b is equal to 0. Okay. Another common mistake is a lot of times students will see this and they'll say, oh, well that's not equal. Okay. Think about what this is saying though. Okay. What this is actually saying is that 5 times what number will get me 0? Again, 5 times what number will get me 0? And the answer to this is clearly 0. If I do 5 times 0, that will get me 0. Okay, so what is the value of b? b is equal to 0. Now, up here, you could have still solved, and this is why you should always solve all the way for the variable. Okay, b is not all by itself yet. So I'd ask myself, well, what's being done to the variable? Well, I see 5 is touching b, so that means multiplication. How do I undo multiplication? I divide both sides by 5. 5 over 5 cancels, leaving me with b equals 0 divided by 5 will get me 0. Okay, so if you get to something like this, problem right up here, okay, you still have not solved for b yet. Do not make a conclusion on your answer until you have solved for b, or your variable, all the way. And once you solve for the variable, right down here, we saw that b will equal 0. And again, what this means is that if we plug in 0 for all of our b's, both sides of the equation are going to balance out. Okay? So in this case, our answer would be the variable is equal to 0. Okay? Let's do another example. Again, if you don't quite have that or you have a question, make sure you put your question mark or pause it, rewind it, and then. Let's look at one last example here. Okay, I want you guys to simplify both sides of this equation. Again, simplify both sides of the equation. So hit pause and do that now. Okay, to simplify, the very first thing I should do is put in that hen 1, that way I don't forget. Are there any other ones that need hen 1? No. Okay, next I'm going to circle the number that I'm distributing. Okay, and then I'm going to distribute. So 3 times 1r, 3 times 1. I don't distribute to this negative 5 because it's not in parentheses. So now I'm going to rewrite. I get 3r plus 3 times 1 is a positive 3 minus 5 is equal to 3r minus 2. Okay. Now what I can do is look and see, have I simplified both sides? The answer is no, that left side is still not simplified. Okay, if I look at this left side, I can combine my like terms, my constants, my regular numbers. Okay, and when I do that, I'm going to end up with 3r minus 2 is equal to 3r minus 2. Huh. Right away, that looks kind of fishy. Again, whenever you guys see things that kind of start looking fishy, you need to be thinking, well, what do I know about these types of problems? We notice right now, okay, if we look at this, and I want you to make a point in your notes that both sides are exact same, right? And it's really important that the signs, we have to pay attention to the signs, okay? It's a positive 3r, right? It's a negative 2. Okay, so even the signs are the same. But I don't want you to stop there. Again, we still have to solve for the variable r. Okay, so I'm going to move my 3r to the left-hand side. Okay, so how do I move a positive 3r to the left-hand side? I'm going to subtract 3r. I kind of already have the minus sign in there. I'm going to subtract 3r. Okay, what happens with this? Cancels. 3 minus 3 cancels. Holy cow. All my variables canceled. Okay, well, what's left? Negative 2 is left, is equal to -2. Okay. Is this a true statement? And the answer is yes. -2 does equal or is the same as -2. Okay. The answer to this, when you see that it's true, the answer that we're going to write, or that we're going to circle on our multiple choice test, is all real numbers. Okay, the answer is all real numbers. That would be the answer that we would circle. Okay? All right, just to recap some of the things that we just learned. Okay, so sometimes we will solve for the variable and we'll get a statement like this, like 35 is equal to 16. Okay, is this true or false? Well, that is not true. 35 does not equal 16. If we get a statement that is not true, we know that the answer is no solution. Again, I'm just kind of recapping the key points here. Okay. Now, what if we get something like this, like 3x is equal to 0? Well, we should see, have we even solved for x yet? No, you got to finish solving. And again, you guys should just be getting this down somewhere in your notes. Finish solving for x, and you're going to get x equals 0. Okay, so the answer for this is just x equals 0. This is like just any other equation where you get x equals 5, x equals -3. It's just our number is x equals 0. Okay, so there's one number that you can plug in to that equation to balance that, and that is x equals 0. Now, sometimes we will get something like this, where we have, like, I'm just going to do 2x plus 5 is equal to 2x plus 5. Right now, we should see that they're the exact same thing on both sides. But then again, if you solve them, if you solve for x, your x's are going to cancel, and you're going to get 5 equals 5. Okay? So unlike this one up here where it wasn't true, is this one true? And the answer is yes, that is true. Okay? When it's true, we say that the answer is all real numbers. Okay? Now, really quickly, on all real numbers, again, what we're saying is that you can pick any number you want, any number you can think of. It can be a fraction, a decimal, a positive, a negative number. No matter what number you plug into this equation, both sides are always going to balance. Okay, so that's why we say all. And remember, real numbers are just fractions, fractions, decimals, positive numbers, negative numbers. Any number you can think of is a real number. Okay, and all we're saying is that pick any number you want, plug it in for x, and it will always, always, always balance out. Okay. Now, there are several practice problems in your notes that you guys need to do those practice problems for the 0 solution, no solution, or all real numbers. Really practice them, and again, if you have questions, make sure you write a question mark and point out exactly where you have a question, and then we'll go over these some more in class.